was driving home alone from a movie when suddenly I was stunned by a massive impact, deafening sounds of screeching metal. I was in a horrific, high-speed crash, trapped inside my car, consumed in fire and nearly burned to death. My vinyl seat was on fire, melting onto my back. My flesh burned down to the bone on my right shoulder. I was conscious the entire time as I was being skinned alive. Now, despite being devoured by that excruciating pain, I was shocked to see that the anguish of my loneliness was more potent than the physical agony of burning. I wanted someone with me to understand what was happening, and I was begging God, please don't let me die alone. I felt so alone, and I was astonished by it. Now, the flames were shooting 20 feet above the car. A wall of fire from a trail of gasoline extended 20 yards back. Earlier that day, I'd picked up art supplies. Everything was still in the back seat. Gallons of turpentine were exploding. And although I couldn't see them, I heard later there were about a dozen people at the scene just staring in disbelief at this massive inferno. He said, but then thank God, suddenly out of nowhere, a man appeared, and he began walking swiftly and without hesitation towards my car. He said it was the most incredible thing he'd ever seen. He said the man was pumping his arms, that it was like watching the Terminator. He said smoke had saturated my lungs. I was just starting to black out, and I thought, I can't believe I'm about to take my last breath. But then all of a sudden I saw movement to my left, and there was this face inches away from me looking at me through my driver's side window. This man looked into my eyes, and there was an instant bond. I was burning alive and yet overcome with incredible relief. I didn't think for a second he could get me out. I just thought, I can't believe I'm not going to die alone. But then he yelled, get your head down. I had to move my head quickly and more into the fire. But in one kick, he shattered all the glass. I came flying out of the car. He patted out the flames on my body with his bare hands, and then he dragged me on my back away from the fire. I felt the dirt, gravel, and glass under me. Tires were exploding, and when he pulled me far enough away, I fell back into his arms and rested. Sometimes all it takes is one person to change a life, one moment, one look. You never know the impact you can have on someone else's life. Now, the next thing I knew, I was being airlifted to the hospital burn unit. And it was during that time that a doctor came in the room and explained that somehow in the accident, my entire scalp had come off the top of my head. I remember her so tenderly explaining to me what she needed to do. And then with a big staple gun in one hand, she put her other hand on my shoulder, looked into my eyes so sweetly. She said, are you ready? I said, yes. And with so much love in her hands, she stapled my scalp down to my skull. Without question, her kindness made it easier. I was calm. The fact that she took those extra few seconds to show this genuine caring made this torturous experience more bearable. I felt so deeply betrayed by life. My face was so swollen I couldn't open my eyes. One morning I heard the shuffling of feet entering the room and a familiar voice. Natasha, it appears that the enemy has made yet another failed attempt to neutralize you. My dad. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. In an instant, I went from feeling devastated to feeling powerful. I was thrust into my character of Natasha, feeling as if I just saved the world. I actually felt proud laying there all bloody and swollen. I felt cool. Amazing. And as my father would say, it is the power of the mind. Now, of course, those good feelings only lasted a few minutes. It took years to master the healing of emotional, physical, and spiritual pain. I experienced extreme depression, despair, anxiety, years of grueling physical therapy. This profound journey took me on my greatest adventure, searching to harness peace and happiness in spite of my suffering. I found out that I'd so often misunderstood the pursuit of happiness for myself. You know, as human beings, we have a natural instinct. We tend to look for pleasure through the body. The adrenaline rush of snowboarding, a kiss, a mouth-watering chocolate, a vodka, a cigar. But these are all fleeting moments. Or we find happiness by falling in love, being successful at work, painting. These pleasures are wonderful, and yet they are dependent upon something external. If this is how we approach happiness, we will be forever yearning. Something deeper is available to us, a resounding sense of peace, a quieter kind of happiness that is self-generating, an endless current from within. The question is, how do we really get there and stay there? Think about it. So many of us grew up with the idea, one day I will be happy. Any sadness and disappointment will be a thing of the past. But pain will always be a part of our lives. And then there is that longing to be loved. The German poet Goethe wrote about this pain of life in the most extraordinary way. He used an expression that describes the experience of pure, exuberant joy and the deepest emotional devastation coexisting within a person at the same time. Himmelhoch jauchzend zum Tode betrübt. One word. Himmelhoch jauchzend is heaven, ecstasy. Zum Tode betrübt, deadly anguish. Goethe acknowledges that happiness is possible in the midst of suffering. That pain and joy exist side by side. Embracing this idea is an essential foundation for building a peaceful life. Imagine if you have a mountain of all of your pain here in one hand, and your joy is over here in the other. Even if it's the smallest thing, you focus on that joy. You build it. You grow it. You nourish it so much that eventually your joy towers over your pain. My friends, this is one of my greatest secrets to living an empowered, fulfilling life. Now, of course, none of us want to feel pain. It's natural to push it away or try to find ways to ignore it. However, there are moments in all of our lives when we're forced to confront it. On the burn unit, nurses had to scrub my body with what felt like wire brushes to get the dirt, gravel, and glass out that was embedded in my flesh. My fever was so high, doctors worried about seizures, brain damage, and kidney failure. My mother counted more than 300 staples in my back alone. The torment was inescapable. I said to her, "Mom, why aren't they giving me any pain meds?" She said, "Honey, you're on the maximum dosage of morphine." Sometimes in life, there is no break. There is no quick fix. What you do is you dig deep and survive it. Now, alongside that steadfast resolve that I learned was the power and devotion of family and friends reaching out to me with the most unbridled generosity, supporting me, fortifying me, accompanying me on my journey. When something tragic happens, we have such an opportunity to come together and pour so much love and compassion into the situation to restore goodness, to bring back healing and hope. I was so fortunate to be on the receiving end of that from so many people. Everything we do makes a difference. Every act of kindness counts. Your kindness counts. And oh, do I remember the kindness of my nurses. They seemed understaffed on that burn unit, sometimes so busy running from room to room, changing bandages, checking IVs, and still there were so many times they would stop without saying a word, just to hold my hand. Those memories have never left me. I still see it and feel it. I often reflect on the fact that I was too drained and weak to say a single word to them. They still have no idea truly just how much those moments helped me. You all do have such an awesome responsibility to help people heal. And I'm sure there have been many times you two went the extra mile for someone and no one said, thank you. Maybe like me, they were too sick, too distracted, or too much in pain. Or perhaps they were a difficult patient or colleague or stranger. But you kept showing up and giving anyway. On behalf of all of those people, I say thank you. And it's important for me to say here, too, that to me, compassionate care isn't just about being kind. Being an expert at your job is compassionate care. Being fully present with your tasks and triple checking your work is compassionate care. Keeping your organization financially healthy so everyone can continue to be there for the patient is compassionate care. Staying up to date on the most effective delivery of treatments that minimize pain and discomfort is compassionate care. Your dedication to staying adaptable in shaky times, to find your devotion to making care better by utilizing efficient data and technology is compassionate care. Everything trickles down to the patient. And please remember that I said this today. Every single person in this room has hidden talents and gifts. People are so much more than they appear to be. You are so much more than even you can see. And we can help each other with this. When you see someone's gifts, when you see their talent or their greatness, say something, speak up, tell them. In this way, we're helping each other become the best version of ourselves. And you may think a person doesn't need to hear how fantastic they are at something, but everybody deserves to hear it on a regular basis. It's all about community. Look at this wonderful community you have here today. When you come together in this way, it is an incredible source of strength. We are in uncertain times, and in times of uncertainty, the power of community takes on exponential benefits and gifts. I know in today's hectic world, it can feel so easy to feel so stretched. It may feel like there just isn't time to bring kindness in some of these brief interactions we have with family, friends, colleagues, strangers. But we can. We can learn to master the art of bringing our love and kindness to someone in the blink of an eye, 3 seconds, with a genuine smile, a supportive hand on someone's back, or maybe it's the attention you bring to the sound of your voice or the look in your eyes, holding someone's hand so they know they're not alone. A simple expression of love. And it doesn't have to be about saying the right words. I'll give you a great example. I remember being on the burn unit one day. I wasn't aware of anyone in the room, and I was overcome in a moment of extreme despair and pain. I was deep inside myself. I thought I was totally alone, and then all of a sudden a nurse leaned over the bed above me, so close to my face, and she looked into my eyes with the most incredible sweetness. And then she put her hands on my head and ran her fingers through my hair. She never took her gaze off of me, and her love washed over me. And I felt healed. It was a 7-second interaction, and I will never forget her. You are the healers of the world. Whether someone is directly working with a patient or on the leadership side, the finance side, in IT, on the admin side, serving on a board or on the informatics side, this is who you are. This is how I see you. Anyone who eases pain is a healer, and anyone who supports someone else to ease pain is a healer. Anyone who can bring love and kindness in the midst of a stressful environment is a healer. Every single thing you do on behalf of another person's well-being counts. It matters. It's never a small act. The world of medicine, the science and technology of it, takes people so far, and still there's a vital need for the human connection, for your presence. If you take just one thing from me today, let it be that compassion heals the places that medicine cannot touch. You are healing the places that medicine cannot touch. Now, as time passed in that hospital room and I was slowly able to start to move beyond all those raw feelings from the surgery, skin grafts, and debridement, I began to ask everybody to find the man who saved me. I had to meet him. I found out that his name was Roger Pepper, and I'll never forget the day he came to visit me. He showed up with an extra large cheese pizza and 2 strawberry milkshakes. It's just so cute. Now remember though, on the night we met, we were surrounded by fire. There were flames whipping around us, and he was tall, 6'2", and fierce and powerful as he saved me. So that's who I was expecting. But when he showed up in my hospital room, he sat so humbly in the chair in front of me, so modest, so benevolent. I stared at him in awe. I kept thanking him. I remember him saying, "Allison, I went to Vietnam. I'd seen many gory scenes there. I knew exactly what I was walking into, and I couldn't believe you were alive." Do you know, every single time I tried to say, "Roger, you saved my life," he'd stop me. And he'd say, "No, Allison, it was you who saved me." Roger explained. He said, "Allison, 6 months ago, my wife, the love of my life, died from cancer. We adored each other. No one has ever loved me so unconditionally, and my heartache was unbearable." He explained that after his wife's death, he lost all motivation for his life, left his entire career in marketing, and became a security guard just to pay the bills. He said, "Allison, it was during that time I began to reflect on my entire life." He said, "Allison, I was not a nice person. I had wronged so many people." And he shared very openly that he'd gone into such terrible shame and regret over this, that he'd lost his will to live. What amazes me is that 2 people in their deepest moment of pain met in the middle of a blazing fire and saved each other. Oh, but it gets even more interesting. He said, "Allison, do you realize I shouldn't have even been there that night? I've never even been to that town where your accident was." He said that on that fateful night, he was sitting home alone on his sofa, nothing on the TV, and he thought on a whim, there's going to be that new guy starting in my company tonight. He's going to be at that guardhouse far away, but I think I'll go visit him. He insisted this is something he normally didn't do, but nevertheless, he got in his car and began this very long drive. Nearly 1 hour later, he pulled up to that guardhouse and saw my car bursting in flames directly in front of that guardhouse. When the firemen arrived later, they said if he had hesitated even 3 seconds, I'd be dead. Roger always said he felt he was born for that moment. And of course, I never stopped thanking him for saving my life. His story is such a beautiful journey of redemption and healing. Roger went on to fall in love again, rebuilt his whole career in marketing, and ended up bringing so much happiness to everyone around him. I adored this man. Now, unfortunately, he did pass away from a stroke a number of years ago. But for years, he would call me every few months just to check on me. And he'd always say in his southern drawl, "Allison, I went to pull you out of that car that night, but I'll never stop pulling you up. I'll never stop." He knew I was struggling for a long time. Roger was always so sensitive to that part of my journey. He understood depression and despair. Now, so far today, I've talked about tragedy, right? But what about the everyday emotional challenges of just being human? The helplessness of witnessing suffering in the world, the sting of our own self-judgment, the times when we all have moments of fear or loneliness. What I have found is that the places inside of us that are wounded and in pain are the most in need of our love. The truth is, we cannot acquire a deep sense of peace and lasting happiness unless we're willing to address our own suffering. Instead of resisting our own pain, We can pour our love and compassion into it. Once we stop judging our own faults or our own suffering, the mind becomes quieter, and we create space for happiness to come in, for goodness to come in, for peace to come in. It takes courage to look at our own pain, but what I have seen time and time again is that in order to be truly happy, we must be very gentle with ourselves, and we must be very brave. Be the one. Be the one who takes the lead. Be the one who's the visionary, the one who does not give up. Be the one who cares for yourself and others. Be the one who creates that beautiful life and workplace you always dreamed of. Be the one. Because a key to happiness is deciding to be the source of it. And over time, I've gotten really clear about this idea of resilience. It's not something we're necessarily born with. It is something that we all nurture and practice. And I found there are 5 active qualities we need to access in order to support and build a healthy, fully functioning resilience mindset. I describe them as 5 kinds of courage. The first is the courage of curiosity. Actively engaging your curiosity, your interest, seeing life as a school, seeing yourself as open, learning something new, and always ready to find a solution to any problem or challenge. This is that mindset shift. When you're faced with uncertainty and you have to be adaptable, stay curious and open. And the next is the courage of truth. Having the courage to sincerely and gently seek and see the truth of who you are, of your situation, of the people involved, looking at everything squarely and honestly. And the next is the courage of defiance. Being defiant to keep your light shining no matter what is happening to you or in the world around you. And in extreme situations, this means choosing to resist hopelessness. And now the next one may surprise you. The courage of compassion. Bringing your full heart forward with tenderness and strength. This takes courage, and it includes compassionately acknowledging all that you are feeling. And now the 5th, perhaps the most difficult, but so beautiful, the courage of trust. Making the decision to keep your heart open to life, being patient with yourself and forging a deep place of trust, believing in yourself and your ability to find your way. Practicing this mindset daily opens the door to an extraordinary life. You will experience personal sovereignty, a life where you shine, creating your direction, your destiny, your choice, your peace. I know every day I have a chance to do good in this world, and I'm going to want to know when I die one day that I lived wholeheartedly. Even when we have doubts in life, even when we encounter the impossible, it's worth believing in the possibility for wholeness and happiness. It's worth believing in hope. As a little girl, my parents raised me to believe that good could prevail no matter what. My mother often said to me, Allison, even in the most tragic of circumstances, good can be found. Now, fortunately, I took this to heart. It was challenged at age 17 when I read a newspaper headline, "Fire consumes 2-year-old baby playing in the closet." The story went on to say that this little boy was alone playing with a Bic lighter. Within seconds, he was engulfed by fire. Doctors at the local hospital said, his burns are so extensive, we don't think he will survive. For years, I carried the memory of that little boy. I wanted to trust everything could be okay, but my deeply held belief had been so badly shaken, I thought, my parents must be wrong. There is no good that can be found in this. Who would have ever predicted that 15 years later, I too would be so badly burned? But as you can see, I made a full recovery. Now, in response to the outpouring of love and support I received, I created a camp for teenagers with severe burn injuries, the Roger Pepper Adventure Camps, named after the man who saved my life. Every year, we take these kids skiing, snowboarding, ice climbing, rock climbing, dog sledding. It's an adventure camp to build confidence and hope. They don't pay a single dime to attend. We want them to feel the love and support of the world around them. I wish you could meet one extraordinary young man from the camps named CJ. You'd see he's burned head to toe. He has no fingers, just one knuckle, and this very charismatic smile. Year after year, he's the guy who'd throw a party for everybody. He'd bring the music, he brought the snacks. He had such a quiet assuredness, he quickly forgot he was burned. His love just burst out of his body. One day I was on the phone with CJ. I said, CJ, we've been friends for years. I never asked you how you were burned. And in his gentle voice, he said, oh, yeah. Did you ever hear about the baby with the big glider? Amazing. Pain and joy exist side by side. CJ will never get his fingers back. Roger lost the love of his life. I will always remember burning alive. Certain pain may never totally go away, but instead of resisting that pain, we can pour our love and compassion into it. The line that divides a life of bitterness and a life of sweetness is nearly imperceptible. Sometimes we don't remember that there's a choice to focus on our joy and build it and nourish it alongside any pain we need to heal. Our happiness is born in our ability to see all that is beautiful and good, and all that is painful and unfair, and to still choose compassion, kindness, and love anyway. Listen, we can trust this process of life. Everything we go through, when we add our love and goodness to it, has a job it can do on our being. Anger chips off the hard edges. Grief and sorrow buffs and shines our spirit and humbles us in the most beautiful way. Whatever pain or struggle or injustice you may face in your life, know that you are stronger. Every day, in every breathing moment, seek to find the good. It's always there. Search with ferocity. Have an unbending belief. My friends, the power of the human spirit, of your spirit, is incredible. This entire room embodies hope for all patients. May each of you forever shine like the sun. Thank you.